Welcome back, everybody. If you've recovered from the chilly Christmas in Denmark, we're going to go south and warm ourselves up in dry Morocco. Please put your trays in an upright position and stow away any carry-ons in the overhead bin. Located across the Strait of Gibraltar from Spain and Portugal in North Africa, Morocco has the same amount of landmass as about California. At 6,007 miles, it's only a little bit farther away from Fresno than Denmark was. The Sahara Desert covers a large portion of Morocco, but the entire country isn't desert. There are also mountain ranges, forests, and fields. There are about 32 million people living in Morocco. Although the capital city is Rabat, the largest city in Morocco is actually Casablanca City. Casablanca was founded and settled by the Berbers by about the 10th century BC. It was used as a port by the Phoenicians and later by the Romans. In June 1907, the French attempted to build a light railway near the port and passing through a Moroccan graveyard. Moroccan residents attacked the French workers and riots ensued. French troops were landed in order to restore order, which was achieved only after severe damage to the town. The French then took control of Casablanca. This effectively began the process of colonization, although French control of Casablanca was not formalized until 1910. It was especially during the years of military Governor Hubert that Casablanca became Morocco's economic center and Africa's biggest harbor. The famous 1942 film Casablanca underlined the city's colonial status at the time, depicting it as the scene of a power struggle between competing European forces, carried out without any reference to the local population, and with the film's vast variety cast of characters, American, French, German, Czech, and some other nationalities, including not a single Arab. Even so, the film has grown in popularity. By 1955, the film had brought in $6.8 million, making it the third most successful of Warner's wartime movies. On April 21, 1957, the Brattle Theater of Cambridge, Massachusetts showed the film as part of a season of old movies. It was so popular that it began a tradition of screening Casablanca during the week of final exams at Harvard University, which continues to the present day. Other colleges have adopted the tradition. The tradition helped the movie remain popular, while other films famous in the 1940s have faded from popular memory. By 1977, Casablanca was the most frequently broadcast film on American television. Casablanca, the city, is not unfamiliar to staging. Take, for example, the Habous Quarter, a sort of French idealized version of a Moroccan Medina or a market. When Casablanca was under the control of France, the French built up this quarter within the city, cleaning up and modernizing some of the older charms of the markets and Arabic culture of a Medina. The result was a maze of shops and buildings, even a palace, inspired by French architecture, but all with an African and Arabian flair. These sorts of open-air markets used to be called bazaars, but are now known as medinas, and individual stalls are called souks. Shopping at a souk can be, well, dividing. Some find the haggling and bartering to be challenging and exciting. Others think it's stressful and are always worried they'll get ripped off. Guides exist on how Americans cannot be taken advantage of and how to know you're getting a decent deal. The biggest piece of advice: be ready to walk away unless you're willing to pay much more than you should. You've lived a good life before buying whatever it is, you'll live a terrific life after, and even if you don't buy it, don't overpay because you get caught up in the moment, says one guide. Almost anything can be bought at a souk, especially homemade items, but also food and drinks. Habous Quarter is actually famous for its olive souk, with plates and piles of different olives heaped up, ready for purchase. This piling of color is almost a trademark of a souk and is especially striking. Morocco is known for its spicy foods, and at the souks, perfect cones of turmeric and curry powders presides over bundles of cinnamon, cardamom pods, and ginger root. Of all the spices as souvenirs, travel guides recommend most returning home with saffron. Saffron is very common in Moroccan cooking and is available at any of the Morocco's souks. However, take care in choosing, as it is the most counterfeit food product because it is also the most expensive spice in the world. It can cost up to $4,000 for just 1 pound because it is difficult to cultivate. In Morocco, the most famous place where saffron is grown is in the town of Talawan. Saffron must be picked by hand, which allows for separation of the stigmas from the ultraviolet blue flower petals. It takes 140 flowers to get 1 gram of saffron. In Morocco, saffron is paired with white meats like chicken, poultry, and lamb. It can also be used in desserts, in milk, yogurt, puddings, and teas. Saffron is also used as a natural dye for clothes and carpets, in makeup, and among the Berber as a perfume for the body and hair. Saffron, too, has healing virtues. Its effects include calming spasms, toothaches, painful cramps, and increasing energy. Adapting to living in the hot and hostile climate of much of Morocco is the heritage of the nomadic people who are native to the country. Most belong to the ethnic group, the Berbers. The Berber identity is usually wider than language and ethnicity and encompasses the entire history and geography of North Africa. Berbers are not an entirely homogeneous ethnicity, and they encompass a range of societies and ancestries. The unifying forces for the Berber people may be their shared language, or a collective identification with Berber heritage and history due to Arabization. Most ethnic Berbers identify as Arabized Berbers. To Americans who eat cold sandwiches and iced tea in the summer, eating hot stews spiced with chili and washing it down with hot tea while wearing long sleeves and headscarves can sound like a recipe for disaster. But such a combination is common in very warm climates. There seems to be 3 leading theories about this, and the real reason is probably some combination of the 3. First, eating spicy food makes you sweat, and sweating makes you cool down faster than if you would eat cold food. Consuming cold food will indeed systematically cool down your body temperature, but the effect only lasts for about 15 to 20 minutes, after which you will feel hotter. Apparently, this is because cold food only cools down the parts of your body that it is in contact with, and then your body will transfer heat there to offset that, ultimately overcompensating. On the other hand, eating spicy food and sweating it out cools down your entire body in the long term, not just the short term. Second, the hot climate makes food spoil faster, and spices help prevent the food from going bad. Spices have antimicrobial properties, and so they make meat less likely to spoil. This is especially helpful in hot climate areas, where the warm temperatures make food spoil very quickly. Some argue the spicy foods also help in our own bodies, making spice lovers healthier. Finally, and very simply, chilies grow best in hot climates, so people who live in places where they grow well eat them a lot. As to the long sleeves and traditional robes, well, researchers have studied the heavy black robes worn by Bedouins in the desert. They say the key there is thickness. The outer layer of fabric does get hotter because the black color absorbs more heat, and that heat doesn't get transmitted to the skin because of the thick fabric. You may have also noticed I said hot tea a few moments ago. Hot mint tea is a traditional drink in Morocco. It is made by steeping green tea and mint leaves, and it is very popular, and many Moroccans drink it several times throughout the day and evening. Moroccans are famous for their hospitality, and it is Moroccan etiquette to offer tea to any visitors that might stop by. Although the tea is usually prepared with a generous amount of spearmint leaves, other herbs such as wild mint might be used. At one time, mint tea was ceremoniously prepared in front of guests. This tradition still takes place at some formal occasions or as a matter of custom in some areas. This ceremony isn't like the meditative, practiced movements of an Oriental tea ceremony, but it involves first making green tea, pouring it into a cup, adding sugar to the pot and fresh mint, boiling water and pouring this from a height of 12 inches or more. 2 or 3 glasses can be served this way, with the second and third being highly prized and tea time taking a leisurely amount of time. Most of the people of Morocco, up to 98%, are Muslim, and to get a taste of that aspect of their culture, we'll stop at Hassan Mosque in Casablanca. If we want to tour a mosque, this is it, because this is actually the only mosque in the city that non-Muslims are allowed to visit. It is the largest mosque in Morocco, the second largest in Africa, and the 5th largest in the world. Its minaret is the world's tallest at 689 feet. Completed in 1993, the minaret is 60 stories high, topped by a laser, the light from which is directed towards Mecca, the city in Saudi Arabia towards which Muslims must pray several times a day. A maximum of 105,000 worshippers can gather together for prayer, 25,000 inside the mosque hall and another 80,000 on the mosque outside ground. King Hassan II had requested for the best of the country's artisans to come forward and submit plans for a mausoleum to honor the departed King Mohammed V in 1961. Said King Hassan, "I wish Casablanca to be endowed with a large, fine building of which it can be proud until the end of time. I want to build this mosque on the water because God's throne is on the water. Therefore, the faithful who go there to pray, to praise the Creator on firm soil, can contemplate God's sky and ocean." The mosque rises above the Atlantic Ocean. The building is built partially on land and partially over the ocean. This sitting was accomplished by creating a platform linking a natural rock outcrop reclaimed from the sea, where a swimming pool had previously been located. 2 large breakwaters were also built to protect the mosque from the erosive action of the ocean waves, which can be up to 33 feet in height. A temporary pier, 2,600 feet in length, had to be erected to protect the foundations of the pillars from the sea during the construction period. Its environmental advantage is that it is free of noise and pollution and receives a fresh breeze from the sea. Our next stop is not quite so fresh. Welcome to the city of Fez, where one district has become famous for its beautiful quality leather products and for its smell. The yellow leather dyed with saffron is considered the most valued and is traditionally used to make pointy-toed slippers called babouche, but the animal hides are prepared the old-fashioned way, soaked in limestone vats of pigeon poop and donkey urine, hand, foot beaten to a pulp and colored with all natural dyes. The smell is not for the weak of stomach, so it's best to accept the sprigs of mint offered at the door before taking in the sights. The saffron-dyed leather is beautiful, though, which is almost to be expected in this colorful and vibrant country. And for those who don't like yellow, babouches come in many different colors and patterns, all available at the souks in Fez. Fez is also known for beautiful blue pottery, available again at the souks. Piles of ceramic reflect the blue pigment, which has become the official color of the city. Fez has another stop for us on our tour, the Blue Gate of Fez. The towering entry with its mosaic tiles is the most iconic portal to the old Medina Fez, which, by the way, is the world's largest surviving medieval city and urban car-free zone. The blue on the side that greets new visitors represents the color of the city of Fez, which is famous for its pottery painted with elegant cobalt blue designs. The reverse side, which faces the Medina, is green, the color of Islam. Built in 1913, the Bab, also known as Gate, is a doorway between 2 equally colorful and dynamic scenes, one that feels distinctly 21st century and the other an intriguing mix of different eras. Once we pass through the Blue Gate, the thrum of traffic will quickly fade, replaced by the din of shopkeepers selling their wares and the muffled footsteps of thousands of animals and pedestrians making their way through the winding alleyways. Another city in Morocco also has claims to the color blue. Aside from peddlers hawking marijuana from the surrounding region, the most noticeable characteristic of this mountainous town is the facades of buildings painted in varying shades of blue. Powder blue doors leap out against whitewashed walls, and entire alleyways emulate the cloudless sky above. Although there is very little indication of the origins of this beautiful color of the city, it is actually a medieval remnant of a population long lost in the area. During the 15th century, the Spanish Inquisition forced Muslims and Jews out of Europe. Beginning in 1471, Chefchaouen was founded essentially as a refugee camp with a prominent Jewish influence. Following in Jewish traditions, the refugees painted their buildings blue as a reminder of the God's power above. Even as the Jewish population faded in the area and gave way to a stronger Muslim presence, the tradition of blue buildings continued. Today, residents of Chefchaouen still regularly paint their houses, keeping the blue city fresh and the lost tradition alive. I feel like it makes everything feel like it's constantly dusk. Returning to the modern world, I'd like to take you through some sights in the city of Marrakesh. In the course of its history, Marrakesh achieved periods of great splendor, interrupted by repeated political struggles, military disorders, famine, plagues, and a couple of sacks. Much of it was rebuilt in the 19th century. It was conquered by French troops in 1912 and became part of the French Protectorate of Morocco. It remained part of the Kingdom of Morocco after independence in 1956. Throughout its history, Marrakesh has maintained a keen rivalry with Fez as the leading city of Morocco, and the country often fragmented politically into two halves, with Fez the capital of the north and Marrakesh the capital of the south. The choice of Rabat as the capital of modern Morocco can be seen as a compromise that afforded neither of the two rival cities primary over the other. First stop, would anyone like to get something to eat? Café Clock here in Marrakesh is known for its famous hamburger specialty, though there's no ham in it. No beef either. Any guesses as to what the patty is made of? Ladies and gentlemen, they're a camel burger. Although the locals are not keen on camel meat, they do not object to anyone having it. At its best, camel meat tastes much like lean beef, but certain cuts can be tough, and if the meat comes from an old camel, it can also taste gamey. If you want a distraction from the camel meat, we can watch one of Marrakesh's famous candle dancers. That tray is not strapped down or attached to this dancer's head at all. She balances it while she belly dances, swaying and twisting her hips and shoulders in time to the colorful traditional music. Belly dancing is believed to have had a long history in the Middle East, and in the Ottoman Empire, belly dance was performed by both boys and women in the Sultan's palace. As a social dance, belly dance is performed at celebrations and social gatherings by ordinary people, male, female, young and old, in their ordinary clothes. But there were also professionals who were paid to dance as an entertainment and who were considered artists and very respectable. With the onset of Islam, belly dancing came to have sexual connotations, and many Muslims regard it as a haram or forbidden, except sometime, as we saw with the Ottoman Empire, for those in the elite. Another apparent must-do in Morocco is called a hammam. This is sort of like a steam bath and spa, separated by gender, and like Japan's hot springs, generally done in the nude. If you're a woman, your experience will include being very firmly washed and exfoliated by another woman. Men wash themselves but are still exfoliated. The pattern goes wash, sit in the steam, which is much hotter than Americans generally like their own steam baths, and then rinsed and exfoliated. The water used in the washing is very, very hot. The water used to rinse is very cold, and some have described layers of skin coming off during the exfoliation. Still, at the end, after a massage, participants usually report feeling relaxed, renewed, and refreshed. It makes sense since their whole new top layer of skin has apparently never seen the sun before. Hammams are modeled after ancient Roman baths with domed ceilings, regal columns, and a marble interior. The bathing facilities have been around for centuries, and Istanbul has several operating hammams that date back to the 1500s and 1700s. Hammams are often called Turkish baths due to their popularity during the Ottoman Empire. Muslim men often bathe before their prayers, so hammams originated as a place where men would go to clean themselves before praying. For this reason, some hammams used to be attached to mosques. Muslim women would use hammams as a place to socialize. Hammams eventually became more of a social and cultural institution than a religious tradition. Marrakesh has its Medina as well, and it can be an experience all of its own just to walk through the colorful stalls and hear the bustle of the crowd as they haggle and sell. One of the things you'll notice as we stroll this or any other Medina in Morocco is a prevalence of cats. Cats are sacred in Islam, mostly due to the love shown for them by Muhammad, but they seem to be more tolerated than revered in Marrakesh. The restaurant owners do not like customers to feed cats at the restaurant tables, understandably so, but you can still see some well-fed felines lingering at the butchers and the fish shops, and you can always find some soft-hearted locals feeding the strays. The largest Medina in Marrakesh is called Gemma El Fina Square, and it can be overwhelming. Stepping into Gemma El Fina for the first time is a total assault to the senses, and it can be a shock to the system. The iconic and chaotic square is the hub of the Marrakesh Medina. By day, the busy marketplace is filled with spice traders, orange juice stalls, snake charmers, medicine men, and performing monkeys. By night, it undergoes a complete transformation, with the night food stalls, groups of locals host sing-alongs, and tell stories while crowds gather around. As we listen to the storytellers and snake charmers or watch a dancer, keep one thing in mind. Don't photograph people or stalls in Gemma El Fana unless you're prepared to pay for it, and the same goes for Marrakesh in general. Whether it's a stall owner, a snake charmer, or the traditional singers, expect an angry local to come running after you if you snap a pic without contributing. Be warned, they can be quite persistent, so if you do want to take some photos, have some change ready. From Marrakesh, we're going to go somewhere a bit different than what we think of as traditionally Morocco. This is the Atlas mountain range in Morocco. Looking like a cross between the Swiss Alps and Tuscan, scrubby hillsides, some parts even look similar to back home in California. These mountains will take you through valleys where it seems life has kept the same pace for centuries, around heart-stopping bends and into the heart of the country not seen by many travelers. The High Atlas is also home to Morocco's oldest inhabitants, the Berber people. It's an area of the world that had been isolated for centuries and is one of the best places to visit in Morocco to witness Berber people, lifestyles, and their traditions. The drives are steeper, the valleys are deeper, and there are more hairpin turns than you can imagine. We could spend days driving through the mountains and exploring nearby areas, such as the route of 1,000 kasbahs. A kasbah is a kind of old citadel or watchtower for a city or lord. Some have become now similar to a cafe or rest stop for tourists and locals. This kasbah is located in the middle of the Atlas mountain range. This particular kasbah is also a hotel, and it makes efforts to be sustainable and support the nearby community. 5% of profits go toward the local villages, helping to provide education to the youth. Most of the employees are from the nearby area, and the rebuilding effort used traditional techniques, as electricity hadn't arrived to the remote mountain area quite yet when the task was at hand. Heading south from the anti-Atlas will put us in oasis territory. No, they're not some sort of myth and they're not mirages. They could come unexpectedly. We'll be driving along and bam, in the middle of nowhere is a completely isolated, magical, palm-fringed oasis, ready to help us achieve all our laid-back dreams. But heading even further on, we'll hit the huge sandy expanse of the Sahara Desert. Mountains of sands which shift with the wind, golden orange but reflecting the hot sun for miles and miles, it's one of nature's wonders. Oddly enough, as little as 6,000 years ago, the vast Sahara Desert was covered in grassland that received plenty of rainfall. But shifts in the world's weather patterns abruptly transformed the vegetated region into some of the driest land on Earth. A Texas A&M University researcher is trying to uncover the clues responsible for this enormous climate transformation, and the findings could lead to better rainfall predictions worldwide. But all that rainfall is gone now, so saddle up everyone. We're going to climb aboard a camel for our trek through the Sahara. Several adaptations help a camel live in a desert. Their large feet spread their weight on the sand when they are walking. When there is food and water, a camel can eat and drink large amounts and store it as fat in their hump. Then, when there is no food or water, the camel uses the fat for energy and the hump becomes small and soft. A camel's waist contains very little water. Even the water from the camel's breath flows back into its mouth. The camels have bushy eyebrows that don't let the sand go in their eyes in a sandstorm. It has a long, slender neck in order to reach high levels such as palm trees, and rubbery patches on the belly and knees to protect the skin when kneeling and sitting on the hot sand. In truth, riding a camel is always going to be a little uncomfortable. It comes with the territory. Mounting a camel requires you to throw one of your legs over to the other side of the beast, which may be the biggest stretch you've had to do since 6th grade gym class. A camel trek in the Sahara ain't the time to dress to impress. Loose, stretchy, and long pants are in. Skinny jeans, shorts, and skirts are out. The stiff, woolly fur of a camel can irritate your skin, as will the harsh desert sun, and so you're going to want to wear pants to cover up. Long pants are best, as the gentle rocking back and forth and side to side will cause your pants to creep up. Socks are also a great idea, as are gloves for those early morning sunrise treks. Camels have a particular style of walking that's perfect for the loose, sandy desert environment. It's less perfect for your posterior. So instead of trying to resist the camel's gentle swaying by forcing yourself to sit upright and still the whole time, move with the camel, not against it. In other words, just relax your body and breathe deeply. The less tension you hold in your body, the more comfortable the ride. Of course, don't zen out too much that you might fall off your camel. Always make sure you're holding onto your saddle handlebars with a firm grip. And where are we heading on these swaying beasts? Into the middle of nowhere, and a very hot middle of nowhere at that? Here, to our camp for the night. Yes, tonight we'll be sleeping out in the Sahara Desert. It's a chance to experience life, just as it was for the ancient Berbers who dwelt out here for so many years. And the sand can be sort of cushiony, so hopefully not too many aches and pains, other than from riding the camel. But I hope you're not too eager to get out of those long sleeves and pants. The temperatures here can drop to around 50 degrees at night, so bundle up in some blankets and prepare for the night. But this view is part of the reason for the experience. Shooting stars, a prim look at the Milky Way away from the light pollution of Marrakesh or Casablanca or even Fresno. This is what our ancestors would have seen when they looked up at the night, and we can see why many believe nature was divine. I can't believe how many stars there are. For those great photographic shots, it helps that camels like to stand very still. But all good things must come to an end. We can walk back to our camp for the night and tomorrow catch our flight back to Fresno. I hope you found our trip through the romance of Morocco to be interesting and beautiful. It's such a colorful and historical country, from the markets of Marrakesh to the hammams in Casablanca. This has been an amazing trip. We'll see you next week.